Okay, my son is drifting and he is not changing or is refusing to change. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. If that sounds like you, of course, probably that's why you are here. We're going to have an interesting time this evening. I'm just going to walk us through trying to answer that question about how to help a young man that is drifting. But today I'm going to begin with a simple question. I like to say that simple does not always mean easy. So it's a simple question, but it's an uncomfortable question. Have you ever looked at your son and you start to wonder in your heart what exactly is happening to him? So let me paint a picture. This young man is the kind of young man that prior to this time, he used to listen, he used to be a very good boy. You talk, you give instructions, he responds appropriately, and he follows instructions correctly. And so everybody saw him as a very promising kid. He showed a lot of promise in his younger days. But over time, up until now, something has happened. He's become that kind of young man who avoids responsibility. He delays on important things that has to do with himself, his personal development, his academics, his hygiene, and a number of other things that you can think of. He does not respond to correction. Like, you can talk and talk and talk and talk. My people will say it's like pouring water on a stone or on the back of a tortoise. It just fizzles out. And so no matter what you say, it is like nothing is happening, no impact, nothing is changing. I'm currently working with a number of young people in that age bracket. So one of them, the mom is like, this boy is good, he's a Christian, he's born again, he's tongue talking. So I wonder where all of this is coming from. And then for the one other young man, I even got to see video clips from his younger days as a child and how bright and smart he was, or he still is, but all of those things are now buried beneath a lot of developmental issues. And so you try to talk, you try to yell, you try to pacify, you try to encourage, but all of that is not working. And so we are here. If that is you, the first thing I want to say to you tonight is you are not alone. You are not alone. So I shared those two examples to let you know that we see this on a regular basis. I hear from parents from all walks of life and from very diverse geography. Okay, so you're not alone. That's the first thing I like to leave with you tonight. But the second thing I'm going to say to you, which is more important about our conversation today, is the fact that you are not helpless. Because I've also encountered a number of parents. I see this a lot on social media when I say something that strikes a nerve for a parent, and then they come in my comment section and say, do you think that we have not tried this before? Are you trying to say, somebody posted a comment on one of my posts recently, I think that was yesterday, he said, have you done this exactly the way you wrote it and you got this result? How do you want to convince, blah 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 blah. When I hear those kind of talk, it sounds like an attack. It's not. For me, I read it, I perceive it as someone who has tried and has given up and all of that. So I'm here to say to you that you are not helpless. I'm not sure what platform we are streaming this webinar, so if you can drop a comment, yes, but I might not be able to see that, and so we cannot interact on this call. But if you do have a question, we'll find a channel for you to reach out and ask your question. But most importantly, I'll tell you how you can connect with us, with your son also. So for this particular webinar, I'm going to try to do a few things in the next 30 to 45 minutes, as time permits us. I'm going to try to help us understand why young men drift, why that boy that seemed promising all of a sudden started drifting, especially the good ones. Okay, why good boys drift. We're going to unpack why correction is not working, or correction alone it's not working, and then we're going to try to identify what really is missing beneath the surface of every other thing that you're doing. If we can walk through that, then we can have a conversation around how you can begin to rebuild direction for your boy, discipline and responsibility, because those are three important components that every young man needs to live up to their potential. So to begin with, let's understand what the problem is. What exactly is the problem? Because wrong diagnosis always leads to wrong prescriptions. And one of those wrong diagnoses is a lot of parents label the child as lazy. Oh, this boy is lazy. He does sleeping, oversleeping, and blah, 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 blah. But I often say that laziness is not a problem. Laziness is usually a symptom of a bigger problem. Can I say that again? Laziness is not a problem. Okay, please understand me. Yes, it presents as that is what you are what you are attacking is not the issue. That is the symptom of the real issue. So you're better off running a better diagnosis so that you can find out what is fueling the thing you call laziness. The other culprits will be distraction. Oh, the guy is very distracted. Okay, quite all right, I agree. That is a problem. But the bigger question is, what is fueling distraction? Distraction is diverted attention, right? There must be something calling that attention. What is fueling that distraction? He has a lot of bad friends. He hangs around with bad gang. He moves around with, I don't approve of his friends. We have done a lot of work around helping young people make better choices around their relationships, friendships, and all of that. So earlier in the year, we had this course that we titled Social Sense. So we do Social Sense, which is our relationship skills building program for teenagers. All right, so yes, he has bad friends, but again, you will find that there are certain predispositions for a young man to connect easily with bad friends. I'm going to tell you what that is. He uses a lot of phone. He's always on his phone. He pressing phone from morning till night and all of those kind of things. True. The phone has become one of the biggest problems of this generation of young people. Digital devices, there's a whole lot. So digital distraction, digital amnesia that is caused by overexposure to digital stimulus. What's the other one? Dyslexia, and a number of ADHD. All of those things connected to excessive use of screens and devices. There are other reasons for those conditions, but I'm saying that yes, the phone can be linked to some of these issues, but those are not the real problem. That's actually the point I'm driving at. First, I said laziness is only a symptom, but these other issues, as strong as they present themselves, are not the real issue. The real issue is one thing, that your son either does not have or has lost entirely his internal structure. He has lost it if he had it, or he did not even have it at all. Nobody can function beyond the structures they have set around themselves. Like someone rightly put it, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of the systems that you have set around your life. Your structures include two basic things, two amongst others, but two basic things. Number one is identity, and number two is purpose. You see, a young man that does not have clearly defined in his curriculum what his identity is and what his purpose is will drift. Every other thing you're discussing. A young man with healthy identity already has the internal systems required to choose good friends. If he's making bad relationship choices, it's an identity problem. If he's wasting his time on social media, scrolling all day, it's a purpose problem, it's a direction problem. He's oversleeping, he's lazy, check. As an adult, as a parent, you wake up every morning, not because you always feel like waking up. Sometimes you want to spend some few minutes, hours on the bed, but you have something you have to wake up to. So, the culprit and the solution for building effective structures for a young man is identity and purpose. He does not know who he is, he's going to drift. He does not understand what he's building and what his life is about, he is going to drift. If there is nothing to answer the question of what is expected daily from me, he is going to drift. Life abhors vacuum. So wherever there is vacuum, we have a tendency to fill it with something. And when a boy lacks identity, lacks discipline, lacks direction, he will drift. It doesn't have to be a bad boy. Good or bad. When those things are missing, they're going to drift because they lack structure. Structure is like scaffolding. You're building a house from foundation to roof. You need scaffolds around that house until it is set, is completed, it is built, then you paint it, you can remove the scaffold, then you can begin to furnish your house. So the second question to answer is why your correction is not working, why you're yelling, you're shouting, and every other thing that you have done, why it's not working. You're giving instruction. A lot of parents are about, read your books. I don't know why he's not reading your books. Drop that phone. I don't know why you are always on your phone. Why can't you be serious for once? How can he be serious? Serious about what? Serious with what? Serious in which direction? Correction without structure will always produce resistance. Correction without structure is going to produce resistance. That young man is going to resist the effort that you are making for him, because you're trying to control behavior without necessarily building the systems behind it. Like the scaffold illustration I used, you're trying to get this building to stand, but it is still bricks and wet mortar. You need structures around it to help it to stand. And even adults, because the building of a man, the making of a man is not a 6 months project. The making of a man is not an 18 months project. The making of a man is a lifelong project. What you want to do as a parent is put scaffold that helps the young man to get to the point where he can begin to by himself set structures and use those structures. So as long as you continue trying to control behavior without building the systems that sustain those behavior, that effort will come to nothing. So he hears you. I can assure you, your son can hear you, but he's not changing. He's not changing. And so next question is, what exactly does your son need? Like I mentioned before, he needs an identity, he needs a purpose, he needs a system. Your son does not need more advice. or more motivation. More motivation. I see this regularly these days when I share something on social media and people are in the comment section. Please, can you write out this thing in a list so that I can print it out and send it to my son? That's not what your son needs. Quite frankly, that's not what your son needs. Your son needs a system. My mentor, Coach Wendy Ologe, will always say that you cannot build a mansion with tips and hacks. You cannot build a mansion with tips and hacks. 5 tips here. We share all those things, and I mean, it's interesting to watch a 90 seconds reel on social media. I can assure you those things are just awareness. It's to drive you to the main point. You cannot solve the problem by reading one social media post here, checking one Instagram post here. It will not work. Check all the things you have been watching on Instagram. How many of them are being implemented? You need a system that guides and monitors implementation. It's like saying you want to produce, because we spend a lot of money on academic development. So let me go there. That is like saying you want to produce a medical doctor from Instagram post. No matter how good the Instagram post is, YouTube, Netflix documentary, you want to produce a medical doctor from that? No, you must submit that individual to a structured system of learning. How do they say it in Nigeria? 6334, 6335, 6337, depending on the program or the outcome that you're expecting. You cannot build a life based on Facebook posts, Instagram reels, TikTok reels, and YouTube. It's not going to happen. So your son needs a system, and the system will comprise of 4 things. Number 1 is identity. That young man must be able to answer the question, who am I and who am I becoming? They are not 2 individuals. It's the same. Who are you and who are you becoming? Because the lion cub is a lion. All right, the chick is a hen or a cock. The puppy is a dog. And so the question of who am I and who am I becoming is, on that journey, where am I currently to becoming a full-fledged man? That is a question of identity. And you can't answer that question in 60 seconds, 90 seconds. No, you can't. The second component is the question of discipline. What do I do daily, regardless of my mood? There must be something that wakes your son up in the morning. There must be something that sets him on his feet. There must be a mission about his life. If it does not exist, then there's no reason that he will drift. There's no reason to get serious with life. There's no reason to get serious with life. Identity, discipline. Number 3 is responsibility. What is expected of me? If you have raised the boy that you have bailed out all through his life as a child, as a preteen, and a teenager, why are you surprised that he does not have any stamina? He does not have any frame of reference for carrying responsibility. It's your responsibility. You have been carrying it all this while. So why do you want to give it to us now that we are 18? No, ma'am. No, sir. It ain't working like that. So we must begin to reframe that mindset and teach him there are expectations on every human being. Even a 2-year-old will have expectations. Even a 1-year-old will have expectations. So we must layer the conversation around discipline and responsibility. And then number 4 is self-leadership. Self-leadership. Self-leadership answers the question, can I guide myself? Can I guide myself? Can I guide myself without supervision? Can I guide myself without being forced? Can I guide myself without being micromanaged? Can I guide myself without being micro-monitored? And that's what a structured mentorship system helps your child to achieve. Can I guide myself towards academic development? Can I guide myself towards spiritual development? Can I guide myself towards physical health physical and mental, emotional development can I guide myself? Self-leadership, responsibility, the discipline of execution, the discipline of sitting down with it, the discipline of being bored. Can you get me a copy of The Gift of Boredom, please? The discipline to sit down in a quiet moment, in a place of reflection, and journal your thoughts. The discipline to sit down and create solution to your problems and then the problems of the people around you. It requires a whole lot of discipline, but it falls back to the question of identity. That's one of the books I've written for teenagers. Is The Gift of Boredom. We're training young people to be able to sit down and be bored. It's okay to be bored. This constant stimulation of digital devices and screens and media and all of that. Here's one solution for your son. So, self-leadership. Without this, identity, discipline, responsibility, self-leadership, without these things, even a good boy will drift. Even a righteous boy. Trying to think of that scripture. In the book of Psalms chapter 11, it says, how does it put it? Where the foundation is broken, even the righteous suffer. I think something like that. Where the foundation, if the foundation is destroyed, that's what I'm looking to say. If the foundation is destroyed, what can the righteous do? It means that your righteousness, your holiness, your speaking in tongues is not going to save you if you have a faulty foundation. Better go and fix the foundation. Then you can start speaking in tongues. If these things are put in place, it helps even the so-called average young men. They do better. They rise to occasion. They do what is expected of them. They fulfill their assignment because they are purpose-driven. They are driven by a healthy sense of identity. They are not tossed to and fro by every wave of trending whatever in the media. So I'm going to leave you with practical things, practical shifts that you can begin to make from today. Instead of nagging, instead of yelling, instead of saying stop using your phone, you can begin shifting that conversation by having a discussion with your child, answering the question, what are you building right now? Now you are introducing purpose into the conversation. Instead of saying, be serious. What do you mean by be serious? What is your daily structure is a better conversation. What is the daily structure? What are your daily routines? What is your weekly calendar like? So instead of a constant correction and, emotionally tensed parenting, the atmosphere is always tense, the house is always moody and all of that. You can begin to demand clarity, you can begin to demand structure, you can begin to demand output from your child. And every time I say this, I always say, it doesn't sound like punishment, it doesn't sound like, but it's hard work. I said the fact that something is simple doesn't mean it's easy. It's hard work. I made a post recently about structures and systems, and I was actually addressing parents of younger children, and somebody came into the comment section to tell me that I was talking to parents who always fight with their children every morning, morning routines and all that. And someone came into the comment section and said, did they not shout at you? Can't you see how you are a strong man now? I laughed. I just responded. I said, yes, I understand. It's easier for you to wake up every morning and shout on top of your voice and tell yourself that you are getting results without understanding the consequences of the result or the price at the cost at which those results are coming. It's easier for you to do that and walk away than to sit down and do what I'm telling you to do. You're going to have to start demanding structure. You're going to have to start demanding clarity, output, and accountability from that young man that you are raising. Because boys don't grow through pressure. Boys don't grow through nagging. Boys don't grow through simple pedestrian motivation. Boys grow through systems and accountability. Every young man needs a system to follow and a structure to hold them accountable for what it is that they are doing. So, can I speak to you about Thrive LaunchPAD? Because everything I've said up until this time, I believe we have done 25 minutes on this call. Everything I've said up until this time is exactly why we created Thrive LaunchPAD, specifically for young men between the ages of 17 and 21. A lot of persons have been asking us, oh, can my 16-year-old child join? Are they going to be prepared to go through the haul? It's a long haul. Okay, so Thrive LaunchPAD, we created that to answer the questions and help you build the kind of systems and structures that I've just talked about, because many boys are not just stubborn. Yeah, there are strong-willed children, there are stubborn boys, but most boys are not dealing with stubbornness. Like I said, that is just a symptom. Underneath it is that they are not structured. They've never been shown a structure. Boys are easier to manage when you give them a structure to follow. See them now, young boys, the ones that are winning Champions League and sports competitions around the world. How old are they? I just learned that what's that team, the Arsenal team that just won a league, I learned that the captain is 15 or 17. I don't know, he's a teenager. All right, when you give a young boy structure, he will deliver. So put them in a system of a structured system, a system of structured accountability, structured mentorship. So I'm talking about Thrive LaunchPAD. Thrive LaunchPAD is a 7-week high accountability system. The accountability is big for us, and we have designed it for young men 17 to 21. Like I said, some people want 16 to come in, some people even want 22, 25. All right, send us a DM. We're going to put a special gate to now sieve and see whether those particular individuals qualify. What we want to do is, number one, help them build clarity, vision, purpose, identity. Who are you and what is your life about? Who are you and who are you becoming? We're going to help them do clarity. We're going to help them develop discipline. That's why it's 7 weeks. So usually our courses don't last more than 3 to 5 days, are short courses. But this is not a short course. This is not a course where you jump in and I teach you and you walk away. This is transformation. That's why I said it's a high accountability program where you are going to develop discipline. There are things to do on a daily basis. We have live sessions, but there are things to do. There is an accountability system built inside of it. So you build clarity, you develop discipline, you are going to learn, your boy is going to learn to take responsibility. First, responsibility for himself before he will learn to take responsibility for his environment and for other people around him, siblings and systems and all of that. We're going to help him create clear structure for his life. So we are hoping that every boy that joins Thrive LaunchPAD will go home with a bespoke structure. What do I mean by bespoke? Tailor-made for you. It's not something generic to everybody. No, you will design your own. I'll design my own, and every boy. So the system is quite going to be a small group. It's going to be a small group. They are going to start producing results. Very, very important. It's not motivation. It's not motivation. It's strictly execution based. And so your son will not just attend a program. He will be required to show proof of growth. I said in one of the campaign materials that we released that he will show working. He will show workings. He will show proof of growth. If he cannot prove growth, it does not count. So we're going to hold him by the hand and help him. And by the way, my mentor, Coach Kunle Ologe, is going to be joining me on Thrive LaunchPAD, and we're developing the curriculum and the systems together. If you know Kunle Ologe, world-class marriage counselor, family life coach. All right, so he's going to be helping us, help these young men as well. We're looking to see whether We can have other sessions with some other persons, but you know, it's going to be a power-packed system. Can I sound like Pentecostal people? It's going to be power-packed. All right, 7 weeks. Every week they're going to have live sessions, at least 2 live sessions every week. We're going to have midweek check-ins for them. We're going to have a daily tracking system. We're going to have a daily tracking system that monitors what everybody is doing and building on a daily basis. And then we're going to have accountability systems, including accountability pods. Because it's all guys, we're going to have like brotherhood accountability pods for them, where they will hold each other accountable, and the entire system will hold everybody accountable. There will be weekly scorecards. Like I said, if you cannot prove growth, it does not count. And we might even expel some persons if they don't meet up to certain thresholds of performance, because there will be practical assignments on a weekly basis of things to do, things to design, things to execute as we go on. So he's not going to be able to hide. We also put a limit on the number of people that we are bringing. We're going to allow to be registered into the program. So the earlier you take action, the better. We put a cap on the early bird registrations, but because of this webinar, I had to extend the early bird registrations and let it run till the end of the month. So the early bird is still available until May the 31st. All right. So I was saying that your son is not going to be able to hide. We want to help him to stop drifting, or to not drift at all, depending on where he is. He will start to build something out of his life. So let me leave you at this point. I think we have crossed the 30 minutes mark. All right, I said between 30 and 45 minutes to be able to do this. Let you see what we have. So I'm going to leave you with this. Boys don't suddenly become responsible men. I say this to parents a lot. From the moment your child is born, you're not raising a child, you're raising an adult. There's a journey, probably 18 years journey from the newborn to the adult. If you don't keep your eye on who you are raising, you're going to think you are just raising one child. And so you do all of the things that we do, or the things that were done to us, and we claim we turned out okay. I don't even have the time to get into that conversation. But boys don't suddenly become responsible men. They grow into it. They are guided into it. They are mentored into it. They are developed into it. If that does not happen, they will drift in the opposite direction. They will drift in the opposite direction. And whatever is not corrected early in the life of a young man becomes very difficult at adulthood. You know, we say a fool at 40 is a fool forever. I say a fool at 40 was a fool at 14, and everybody ignored him. Not at 40, he didn't suddenly become a fool at 40. He was a fool many years ago, decades ago, but he was not guided, he was not mentored, he was not prodded in the right direction. So the question is not, can my son change, or will he change? The real question is, will he be guided? Will he be mentored? Will he be coached? Will he be structured into the kind of man that you want him to become? Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Will he be guided? That's the real question, and I'm going to leave it at that for you. If you are ready to help your son move from drifting to direction, then this is me specially inviting you to take the next step with us. Sign up for Thrive LaunchPAD, and let us build that young man intentionally. If you do, I'm going to see him on the inside, and we'll take it up from there. But until then, cheers. Bye.